The opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not represent the views of any Grand Lodge nor a pendant body of Freemasonry.
Another episode of Masonic Shelf Shorts, your monthly dose of Masonic education in 10 minutes or less. You're really going to enjoy this one. My name is Chris Williams.
And my name is Brad Kohanke, and tonight's guest presenter is a really good friend of mine. He is from the Dallas area. His name is Zach Haston. He is a past master and currently serves as the president of the board of directors for the Masonic Children and Family Services of Texas. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy his talk tonight. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Thank you very much. What I'd like to talk about today would be, I'm going to start with the principal tenets of Freemasonry: brotherly love, relief, and truth. They're where we start. They're in the EA degree for a reason, because the EA degree is all about setting a good foundation for everything that's going to build after that. They are very important for capturing initiates because they resonate very much with initiates and what they're looking for. If you look at millennials today, specifically, who is being initiated into Masonry? Since COVID, 43% of our initiates in Texas have been millennials. Another 15% have been Gen Z. So over half are younger than Gen X at this point. 70% of our initiates are looking for a brotherhood. Stats out there, and you can read online about this being a very lonely generation. People are online all the time, but it's not with a real person. Nearly 2 out of 3 men say that they haven't made a close friend in the last couple years. About 2 in 3 want personal interaction with other people. Masonry provides that. The brotherly love is an important thing. When we start off in the lecture, it's monitorial, so I can probably say by the exercise of brotherly love. So the actual doing of brotherly love brings us together. It unites us, and it conciliates true friendships among those who might otherwise have remained completely apart. People are very much into personal charity. The members coming in, if you look at the characteristics, they're for helping others, forming friendships, and self-improvement. Helping others is very much in that list. And it's not just the charity that we do as an organization. When even at the local lodge level, when a brother teaches another the work, when he takes him by the hand and they talk about the symbols and they talk about the greater truths, they are helping others. When they work in degrees, they are helping others. So it's not just what we do together, right? But what each person does on the relief. But the number one thing that people want and they search for in an organization is truth. 75% statistically are looking for that as a very important characteristic of what they're joining. And that is where Freemasonry has a unique, pretty unique method of getting to truth and talking about truth. We work in symbols, we work in allegories, and the discussions of those bind men together. When people are going through in Texas, we have a very long catechism that people have to learn to go from EA to Fellowcraft and from Fellowcraft to Master Mason. It's long for a reason, because during that time is when all of the questions, or a whole lot of questions, get asked, and there's a lot of discussion, and you form a bond with your mentor, with the person who teaches you the work. Everybody remembers who taught them the work. That brings you into the brotherhood. It creates not just a bond, but also a desire for learning. That desire to learn more, to go through results in men of all ages equally getting through the work. It doesn't matter if you look back through time. It doesn't matter if you're 20 years old, 30 years old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old. Everybody gets from EA to Master Mason at the same percentage across all ages, because if you're young or old, people get captured by the symbols and the meaning and the mysteries, and they search for that. But those men that are coming in today are searching for truth, for these kinds of discussions well beyond those first 6 months. And so when they come to the stated meetings afterwards, or when they go to the special called meetings afterwards, they are there for a reason, and it's to get something out of it. They are also there for the brotherhood, because by then they've formed new friends. They like hanging out. We all do. The fraternal aspects of our organization are huge, but they're not the only thing. And so we need to continue to provide material and substance for our brethren. When a person comes in today, it's our peak time to come in is the late 30s at this point. That's been increasing slightly, and that has to do more with national trends. If you plot the age at which people get married today versus the age at which they join Masonry, there seems to be about a 10-year gap between those. If you go back into the 70s, people would join, they'd get married in their 24, give or take, and they would join Masonry at 34. That has increased now. The current generation are getting married closer to 30 years old, and they're joining Masonry consequently, or coincidentally, nearly 10 years after that. But nevertheless, they still come in largely in their late 30s, and the age at which they pass away in Masonry is in their 80s. So there's nearly 50 years of being a Mason. That hasn't changed over the years. People move. There is a certain percentage that lose interest. One thing I did find interesting, as kind of a side note, Texas Master Masons live longer than Texas men do. So if you look at an 18-year-old Texas male, he's got about 55 more years of his life as an average. If you look at Texas Master Masons, it's 65. Texas Master Masons live 10 years longer than the average 18-year-old, and that continues at every single age group going up. So even if you look at, say, a 60-year-old, Texas Master Masons are living 5 years longer than the average 60-year-old has left in his life. Same thing with 80. Like 80 years old, average Texas male lives 7.5 years. Texas Master Masons live on average 9.1 years. And part of it is because, I believe part of it is that unity that brings us together. If a person loses their wife, they tend to die much younger. But if they're a Texas Mason, they live longer than that. That camaraderie, being with friends, is important to us and helps literally our life expectancy. Things that people are interested in Masonry, right? The high moral standards are important to people. Practicing self-control and treating other people with respect and dignity, not just in word only, but when they go to meetings and they see that kind of behavior as being good, that is a net positive for them. They care about charity. They care about the hundreds of years of unbroken tradition. They care about the history, about how our founding fathers and this nation was built on these qualities and these beliefs. They talk that the deep and lasting friendships and the selfless giving and the personal growth. Personal growth is very important to millennials and others with that. And people are naturally, Masonry is filled full of symbols and things to improve and contemplate. And that doesn't just unite us together as we talk about it, but it fulfills each person as they go through those. They think about each one, they discuss it with their brothers, or they do it on their own at however it's done, Masonry builds upon that character and improves upon those people, and gives them a lifelong satisfaction, which is why people stay in Masonry for so long. So with that, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity for giving me a few minutes to talk about the basic foundations that we set: brotherly love, relief, and truth.